All right, now the US remains caught up in the left versus right political storm. Amid rising rhetoric and divisive discourse, US President Donald Trump has passed an order to investigate individuals and organizations which he claims are funding left-wing political violence. Trump signed a presidential memorandum on Thursday which empowers the FBI, the Justice Department, and other agencies to probe and subsequently prosecute individuals, financiers, and funding groups. Trump has repeatedly claimed that liberal stakeholders have played a role in financing protests and political violence. However, the US president's claims are unsubstantiated and do not include references to all the instances of political violence against the Democrats.
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right. The radical left.
In the latest, the US president also celebrated ex-FBI chief's indictment. Trump hailed the legal move, claiming James Comey, and I'm quoting here, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on 2 criminal counts. Comey, a prominent critic of Trump, is charged with making false statements to Congress and obstructing its investigation of the Russia probe. The indictment of a former FBI director is unprecedented and the culmination of a years-long feud between Comey and Trump. Trump fired Comey in 2017. At that time, Comey was investigating whether Russia interfered in the 2016 election and if Trump or any member of his campaign colluded with the Russians. The charges came days after Trump publicly urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to take action against Comey and others he sees as enemies. Reacting to the charges, Comey posted a video saying he was innocent and that he had faith in the U.S. judicial system. He said that he knew for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but he was not afraid.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either.
If convicted, Comey faces up to 5 years in prison. According to federal prosecutor Lindsay Halligan, who was appointed by Trump just days ago, she is a former personal lawyer to the president who has no experience as a prosecutor. She was appointed to the high-profile post of U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia following the resignation last week of the previous U.S. Attorney, Eric Sabert. For more on this, John Ports is joining us from Boston. He's a professor of political science at Northeastern University. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on WION World this one.
Glad to be here.
Professor, let's just first try and understand the implications of this memorandum that Trump has signed. What is your assessment of it?
Well, he's, putting down on paper and moving forward with what he's talked about from the campaign of going after people, retribution, going after people who have previously been involved in indictments that he himself faced between his presidencies. So it takes it to a new level, for sure.
Right, Professor, of course. Now, when we talk about this right versus left-wing extremism rhetoric, do you think the real issues are being buried? Because we've been seeing a surge of this rhetoric in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's killing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and President Trump has certainly amplified that. I mean, there are other examples on the other side. More recently, a state legislator in Minnesota was killed, and her husband. From someone on the right. So, I mean, we clearly have an issue both on the right and the left in terms of extreme actions.
Right. When we talk about extremism and such rhetoric, do you think it's more damaging? It does not add to the discourse, because we did do a poll a few days back as well, which shows how a lot of people in the United States of America fear that the public perhaps is becoming more intolerant. This sort of rhetoric doesn't seem to do much to inspire confidence.
No, I think people would hope that there's some way of trying to bring people together, at least to try to create some bridges, but that's not really happening. And the president is a position to do that probably better than anyone else, but he's lining up on one side of this issue. So I think that's unfortunate in terms of trying to overcome this division that has been growing in American political society.
Right, Professor. Also, just wanted to understand, what would you say is the biggest threat facing America at this point beyond partisan politics?
Beyond partisan politics. Well, I mean, the international issues, with Gaza and Ukraine, I think are pretty important for globally, but also for the United States. And I think we also struggle with, kind of this long-standing issues around disinformation, misinformation. It's hard to know, the truth anymore. And I think that it kind of underlies some of the challenges we face.
It's hard to know the truth anymore. All right, Professor Potts, thank you so much for joining us on WION World as One with your perspective on this.
My pleasure.
Thank you.